Hey everyone, it's Meg, and this is an off the cuff video that I usually don't do. It's unscripted, and this is me after I recorded it. I initially was going to just include this in the Injustice Part 2 reaction to the game, Gods Among Us, but I decided I should just make it its own thing so it doesn't get too much in the way of the Part 2 reaction. So this is going to be talking about DV and Harley and Joker and some comments I received on my latest video. And I am going to share what I know and my opinion and clarify and discuss some things. So yeah, I gave an incorrect intro. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So that's why I'm recording this right now. Okay, play the video. Hey everyone, it's Meg, and welcome back to more reactions to Injustice, Gods Among Us video game. A video game. The video game? Not sure. Some people got excited because they thought it was going to be the animated movie, but no, it is the game, and I'm loving it. So thank you for pulling through. I do think we have some newer people to the community or to my content. And I kind of want to talk about something serious before we get into the fun stuff and the lighter stuff. In the original video, I asked a question just based on y'all's opinion of which abuse Joker shows Harley. I believe I said something like, how do you feel about showing so much of him hitting her? And I'll try to remember to put a clip when I edit this. They're so cute. Okay.
Go. No one likes a third wheel.
And then we get the ick from him. I know it's like a major part of their relationship. Don't get me wrong. I loved Mad Love. But I guess I don't know the answer to this. I'm just inviting the question for y'all. Like, how do you feel when they kind of lean into the physical abuse with Joker and Harley? For me, I don't know. It's not that like I don't want to see it so that I can just happily turn my brain off or whatever and just like be like la 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 and think that they're funny and cute. But I think like Joker's abuse is mainly mental, and he's really charismatic, and I almost feel like it diminishes like the other types of abuse, which I believe with his personality would be more prominent, by just like resorting to the slaps right away. So I was kind of asking that based on people who have watched alongside me, especially Mad Love and the origin of Harley. And since this video has gained a bigger reach, I think some people don't understand the conversations we've already had, and also that I am pretty well versed in domestic violence and am a victim myself and have volunteered to help victims. So I just want to point something out in regards to that. If this is going to be triggering for you, please skip away. But if you have the patience and you want to listen, I would love for you to listen, but I'll chapter it regardless. So I just wanted to point out this comment got 106 likes, which this comment, I understand why people liked it, because, you know, initially I was going to love this comment, except for a couple things. So it says, personally with the Harley and Joker abuse, I say I rather have it than them being an actual couple. So I will have to push back on, you can be an actual couple and there can be abuse. You can be married to someone for 30 years and be a victim of abuse. I don't really know. I think they meant like actual as in a loving couple, which I agree. I don't think there can be love with neglect and abuse and that kind of continuous toxicity. Bell Hooks says that in All About Love, her book. It says something along the lines of love cannot coexist with abuse and neglect. From a comic book reader eyes, I can never picture the two actually together. I always think they should be the icon of what a relationship shouldn't be. True. Besides, is it really that crazy the guy who nukes a city would hit his fake GF? So, I mean, true. I don't know if it's fake I'm going off Batman the Animated Series, which a lot of people say is accurate to the comics, but also Harley Quinn started off as a character in the animated series. I'm not sure if that's known. She was one of his thugs, and then Arlene Sorkin did such a good job, R.I.P., that she was made a character, and her Harley Quinn was born. So not necessarily that they're an actual couple. I don't think that they're loving. I think it's an abusive dynamic, but I want to firstly point out that I did ask if they thought that the physical violence was that impactful or needed when I find it so much more interesting when he abuses her emotionally and mentally. And I'm pretty sure I said that, so I don't know why it has gotten into such a weird depiction. But the comments underneath this were the most disappointing. I find it ironic that people can watch Joker murder innocents in horrible ways, but get a little squeamish with him abusing Harley. Like, did you think Joker was somehow redeemable? This is kind of ridiculous. The Phantom Penance. Also, if you like the Phantom Menace, that's a disappointing comment. Even Anakin was redeemable. Even Anakin was redeemable by his son. Spoiler alert. The reason why Batman keeps trying is to get something out of the Joker, and that's why I think it's his biggest nemesis, because he is clearly irredeemable. But I'll read the rest of them and then I'll make my final point. Right, people overlook that stuff because he is a villain and that's what villains do, but something relatable like domestic abuse is shocking laughing face. It's not funny. I'm laughing at this person. I always just saw their relationship as Harley being obsessed with him and Joker just seeing her as his best henchman. If that is how you see Harley Quinn, you are really missing out on her character. The whole point of the Joker is that he's the worst of what humanity has to offer and capable of anything, but he'd never strike a woman. So ridiculous. I think that it's just very silly. So first, I'm going to talk about how domestic abuse is shown in the media and how that does not help. So this is a study from 2021, the influence on media violence on intimate partner violence perpetration, and examination of inmates' domestic violence convictions and self-reported perpetration. And so the findings of this were that research suggests that the representation of violence against women in the media has resulted in an increased acceptance of attitudes favoring domestic violence. So I think it's no question that things like SA, domestic abuse, violence against women, but domestic abuse, especially since men can be victims as well and are victims. I guess I assumed that we all knew the media does not, in general, show it correctly. There are some amazing depictions, and I would argue that Mad Love, that last Batman, the animated series episode, really, really did showcase the extent of the abuse with Harley. And the animated series, if you go and watch it, my reaction is on the reaction channel, but also just watch it on your own and just experience the beauty of it. So when some games, some shows, whatever, just put in a Joker slapping Harley. First of all, if you're saying like people get squeamish, are you considering victims of domestic violence? Like, are you really putting a laughing face and calling it squeamish? I think that's just so rude, disrespectful, and unempathetic. Second of all, of course it's going to be different when we are dissociated and deadened to violence against a lot of innocent people, and I don't think that it's such a shock that people would be really, ooh, what the hell, about a character that they know and love being smacked across the face when she does love him and trust him. I think a lot of these comments are entirely simplistic and degrading, and it just was really disappointing because, I don't know, I guess I have this naive view of Batman fans, but I think we've carved out a little corner of the internet for Batman fans that kind of get and see the whole picture. So shout out to y'all. I'm not lecturing you, I'm lecturing these people. And yeah, I don't mind having to lecture. So with Harley, to just see her as obsessed with him, I guess is true in some regard, but I think that diminishes her character a lot. I think at her heart, it doesn't even need to be Joker. She wants a family. She is desperate for a family, and she was a psychiatrist. So that was Batman in the animated series. She had him as a client, and I think that her character explores so much of what it's like to be a woman in this society and having to have it all together, and especially in something like the mental health field, medical field, where you have to be so put together. You can't let loose. You can't show any signs of vulnerability. I hate to break it to some of you, but we are in 2025 and gender inequality is not fixed. It just isn't. And especially, in the 90s when that show was happening. But she met this man who unlocked her crazy side. And that's like, of course, a generalization, but he unlocked this wild spirit in her, and it was fun. Also love the comic Harleen. So good. I love her as a character to show that you can be so intelligent and so aware of mental illness and DV, so smart about that, but still be a victim. And I think the pressure of the expectations of being a woman really just like made her brain snap. So with Joker, I don't think it's just she's just obsessed with him. She is obsessed, if you want to use that word, with the idea of love and passion and unbridled affection and joy and being able, she wants to settle down with him. Like, if this is my favorite version of Harley, at least. She wants to sit down, make dinner, say, honey, welcome home. I made steak. Have a family, have kids. Like, I just implore you, if you don't know about Harley, please, please, please. She's one of the best female characters. She's so like, but anyone can relate that need to settle down when you can't work on yourself, because she does toxic things too, of course, but would highly recommend Mad Love, would highly recommend, I forget which episode it is, but there's this Batman, the animated series episode where she goes out shopping. It's when she gets free, and that's when she kisses Batman and he gets her the dress. And I know what it's like to have one bad day, blah, blah, blah. But Harley she's so precious for her heart, for her dreams. And I don't even think it personally has to do with the Joker. I think clearly she's, she loves him and she puts up with all his shit. But in all, like, what I really thought was clear, but I will reiterate, I was asking people if this is effective right off the bat versus a more nuanced approach, because I'm honestly tired of seeing domestic abuse portrayed in media as just a smack. I'm really sick of it. And I know there are a lot of y'all who are sick of it too. I love Mark Hamill, his portrayal of the Joker and how they write him, because he is so charming. He is so charming. And it is so much more mental and emotional. And so I think physical violence does happen, especially in that last episode. But typically, just as someone who has studied this and experienced it, it's not a smack right off the bat. And it's not physical right off the bat. It's going to be maybe some jealousy and possessiveness at first, isolation. He puts, she eventually copies him and puts herself in a clown outfit as well to, impress him, whatever. They hang out and live in his little area. He gets more and more and more control over her. And so much so that she has to break away with Red, Poison Ivy, and it's like an addiction. And so much of that, since they are both physically violent against other people, so much of it's more impactful, in my opinion, and more accurate and honorable and does more for victims to portray it as it typically is. It's not just you get home and you experience something very violent after the second date. I mean, that can happen, of course, but I love the way that the animated series portrayed it. I really do. I think that the Joker, more than anything, while I don't think he's the worst of humanity, I don't think that was ever he's terrible. Don't get me wrong, he's terrible. But that's kind of crazy when, like, look at Ra's al Ghul, I don't know. I don't know how we can label evil. What about Lex Luthor, who can be redeemed in some cases? Why are there games like Telltale where you can low-key redeem John Doe, Joker? I think Batman would strongly disagree with you and be disappointed. You not to get the lecture back, but I just have to sometimes just get it out. Because seriously, it's like you're not really watching the show. And so many of like my Patreon, my close community, guys, this is not about you. I feel like if you know, you know. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so the Joker, I don't believe is supposed to show the worst of humanity, because I think there are specific traits that are just different from the other villains, and I don't think I could say that Joker is the worst or like worse than Mad Hatter when they involve the little girl, Alice, the little blonde girl he kidnaps. There are some really, really evil DC villains, not to mention the corporation executives. Wait, also, what about Heath Ledger's Joker? What about all the other depictions of the Joker who are clearly a symptom of society? And they say that even in The Killing Joke, like that was so awful what he did to Barbara and Jason. But I don't, his whole point is like, it only takes one bad day. So if you think that the worst of humanity is just someone who has one bad day and then descends into madness, and for me, the worst of humanity is much more exploitative on a large scale, CEO type dictator, colonizing, genociding a bunch of people. And I don't care. I'm going to say that in this video. I don't give a shit. Someone who has way more power and organizes the deaths of groups of people. Joker is not the worst of humanity, period. Like, you're just wrong. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, but this is what happens when I get into a fandom for 3+ years and I just consume a lot of content. It's just, I don't think Batman would agree with you either. He's confusing as hell, and he's Batman's nemesis for a reason. Batman, Bruce would never say he was the best of humanity. Ain't no way he would say that. So I highly, highly doubt any writer has said he's like Joker is canonically the worst of humanity. That's just incorrect. Anyways, I am glad that you think that the worst of humanity would abuse a woman who just loves him and doesn't deserve it, of course. But it's just not true. I think that my favorite depictions of Joker personally, this is also why I asked on a respectful tone, like, and that's why I think the original comment really isn't that bad, the one that thread was happening underneath. I personally think that some of the most effective, like, gut punches of, oh yeah, I'm standing, let's go, I like this villain, which I tend to do with some of them. I'm like, yes, slay. Even with Harley, I'll be like, go girl, yes. And then she murders a child's parents in front of them. I'm like, oh, that gut punch of shit. What was I rooting for? Like, did I forget? Is much more effective than just I'm evil. All I have is evil in me. That's why Lex Luthor isn't even like that. Okay, he in a lot of alternate. God, there was someone also that was like, actually, it's an alternate Earth, not alternate timeline. I am just getting into this shit. Love you, but come on. Sorry. Like, I'm sorry I didn't say Earth or timeline right. Girl, I'm just getting into it. I personally feel, I'll ask this question again if y'all want to try, given what I have said, that media routinely does not showcase DV in an accurate light, where there is nuance, where we see the sweet sides, where we see the kiss on the cheek. It's like, it also wouldn't likely happen in public, maybe if it, they've been together for a while, but usually it's mind games at first. isolation, isolating the victim, being toxic. It might start with slamming a door at first, or making a comment about the pets that you have, maybe threatening to take them to the pound. This is very common. Feeling jealous of their success. I think I'll get to how Batman the Animated Series shows that in the ways that I remember in just a second. But also putting them down, like, oh, Harley, do you really think you're smart enough to do that? And this just ramps up, and then the violence comes in, and it becomes something like throwing something near the person, breaking or slamming a glass of phone. And so then maybe because you slammed it down, the shard went into the victim's eye, and they can't really know what is correct. Like, what, they don't really know if it was on purpose or if the person was just hurting, you know? And then there's like this love bombing afterwards of like, oh, I missed you so much. I'm so sorry. On that note, I would invite you to listen to Melissa Benoist's story about her ex-husband. It's very similar, and she said, I remember watching that beautiful story video that she shared about her story, and she said that she put up with it for a long time because she believed he was hurting. And I bring that up because she's Supergirl. She's Supergirl in CW, and she was also in Glee. That's what you missed on Glee. But in the animated series, I just want to give a few examples of what I remember off the top of my head of the Joker and Harley, and how I believe they showed that in their relationship, very nuanced and in a helpful way. Because again, to bring up that study, if domestic violence shown in media in 2021, modern media is making people actually feel favorable about domestic violence, we are doing something wrong. We are doing something wrong in society. So I don't know about y'all, but to me, that says we should really look closely at these depictions of domestic abuse if we are keen on having them still in our movies and TV shows and stuff. If we really feel like we need to and we want to educate, then we really need to look closely at this media. So with that in mind, in Batman the Animated Series, I remember a lot of put down insults from the Joker to Harley. Like, I can get a new one of you. I can get a new Harley. You remember that episode where he's like trying out Harleys? Oh my God. And he's like, nope, that one's too big. Nope, that one's too short. Oh my God. I think you're supposed to laugh at the Joker. I don't think he's supposed to make you, I think he's supposed to make you squeamish sometimes, but he also is a performer and it's funny. Sorry, you can smile sometimes. He would definitely do the love bombing after she would come back from Red, Poison Ivy, hanging out with her and getting her confidence back and her freedom and whatever. And they would go on their little, I don't know, girls' night out. That was so good. I don't know. They're more into like an anti-hero thing when they're together. It's really cute. But he would come back with just all these gifts, flowers, like flowery words along with physical flowers, like, I love you, Harley, you're my one and only. And she's like, oh, I could never stay away from you, you know? And you get a little frustrated with her for going back to him. You also understand why she is going back to him. He would angrily put her down and call her names, and especially make sure that she knew he thought she was stupid. Especially if he was in a worse mood, he definitely would get dopamine from putting her down. And it makes you, even though these are two villains in the DCU, if you watch the animated series, it's like, oh, like it sucks. Like it sucks to see him put her down like that when she clearly just wants a speck of intimacy. Like when she's in the cake and singing happy birthday to him, like, Mr. President Marilyn Monroe. Those are just the things I thought of off the top of my head. This was not scripted. I was going to start this out just including it in the injustice video, but I think it should be just a separate video on its own. And let's see who it can reach. If you are a victim of DV, I just want to say, like, you are not, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, I really hope we build a society where domestic violence doesn't need to necessarily be shown for entertainment in a movie or TV show. And when it is, that it's shown correctly and with education and with more nuance, so that the confusion is, there's no confusion. I can't tell you how many women I know, and a couple of men. My partner had an ex who was abusive and threw things at him, and it didn't start off with throwing objects. It actually started off great the first couple months, and then went very downhill. And if he had stayed longer, I think we could assume it would have escalated into physical violence. Like, anyone remember some of the famous cases we've seen in recent years? It was confusing for people. So men obviously can be victims too, and are essential in the Me Too movement. Don't let any wealthy white lady tell you differently. This is not a woman's issue. So with that in mind, I ask again, do you think that a smack, just right off the bat, first time we see Joker and Harley, is necessary or effective? In my opinion, it isn't. The more that I think about it, because now I've just spoken about all of this, found a study I hadn't seen, and that's just one of many. That's one of many. You will find more and more. It's a very tricky thing to navigate, but certainly is not going to be made better by people saying stuff like, well, why can't you watch a man hit a woman if you see a bunch of, like, innocent people getting killed by him? Why are you so squeamish about that? Maybe because it's domestic and it's invisible, and there are so many women, sorry, forgot to say this, so many women and men, so many people who are victims who say, but he never hit me, but they never touched me. And that's why they stay. And then the physical violence could come later, or it doesn't have to, because abuse can be just as bad emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Okay? I went through a lot of stuff when I was a kid. A lot of stuff behind closed doors. Some physical, overt stuff, but I would say personally for me, the worst was the covert. And I wonder if Harley, some of the worst parts were being confused, because how did he just say that he loves me so much and then call me a stupid brat? Let's not diminish that. Let's not do this. Let's please just prioritize people who need help, because when you live with someone, when you are with someone who can do this behind closed doors, and they obviously might escalate it outdoors, like I think of Gabby Petito, amazing case, heartbreaking. People couldn't see the physical parts of Brian Laundrie that he did. And, you know, she would defend herself or fight back, which is called reactive abuse. And there would be like nail marks on him. So in that regard, it's like, okay, how do we even, like, the police that were so shitty, they did not even really do anything or take him in. He went to a domestic violence shelter because they just analyzed the physical stuff. And then she was murdered by him. So it's not an accurate depiction. Like, I think if anyone wants to defend this, they have to tell me whether or not they actually think it should be taken seriously. Like, this is bad and that's why it should be shown, or it doesn't matter, it's just a smack. Like, you have to tell me one or the other and then defend it, because I'm willing to listen if people are willing to also admit that this study is real, and that this kind of abuse is real, and that even within the DCU, we really have to be careful, you know? And it's funny because I was on Reddit and I have not seen Breaking Bad. I do really want to, but people said apparently that Walter White is a great example of DV because of there are lies, there are I didn't read too much because I don't want spoilers, but it's the manipulating and lying and making someone feel inferior. So, in my opinion, it would be much more worthwhile to explore those nuances and the other types of abuse, because we've seen enough physical, and according to legitimate studies, it is making perpetrators feel good about perpetrating domestic violence, which obviously is bad. And I think it would be much more effective if scenes like that were left out or maybe changed to a verbal spat, a verbal jab, because those are just as hurtful. And I think, honestly, Harley fights a lot and she puts up with a lot of pain, but the worst is from Joker. And I think, just from what it seems like, the jabs, the insults probably hurt her just as much as the smacks. So I'll stop jabbing. No, I'll stop yapping. I really hope I said everything, but if I forget or I want to say something else, I'll probably put in the comments, and I'll have to do a little summary in the next reaction video. Thank you so much for listening, especially if you didn't know too much about this. I don't usually make videos like this. If it's something that I know about, and I don't know everything, I really don't, like politically, socially, whatever, like I can't speak as confidently, but this is something since high school I have been studying because it fascinates me. And even before I realized that I was a victim, which, yeah, it's just crazy to say that, I was intrigued because so much can happen behind closed doors. And there's a saying now, and this is gender specific, but regardless, the most dangerous woman statistically in their lives is their partner, is a man that they're living with, even with all the right intentions, even with, well, I thought we were in love, blah, blah, blah. That's just the statistics. And let me just check this statistic to make sure. So nearly 3 in 10 women, 29%, and 1 in men, 10% in the US have experienced SA, physical violence, abuse, stalking by a partner, and reported it, having a related impact on their functioning. So here are all of the types of abuse, or most of the types of abuse for DV. Psychological, fear, intimidation, threatening harm to themselves or others, like the animal thing I talked about. Isolation, I talked about that. Manipulation, emotional, intentionally sabotaging self-esteem, like those put downs, gaslighting, humiliation. Financial abuse, I don't think Joker has even any money. And then the physical abuse, which is like causing or trying to cause pain. There's a lot of stuff that happens before a smack too, usually. Driving really fast in a car with them. That was recently reported by Emiru and Ms. Kiff. Fuck that guy. Forcing exits, blocking exits, pushing through doors. Yeah, driving recklessly. We've seen them do that. Abandonment in unknown dangerous places. I'm pretty sure that's also been shown in the show. Preventing calls to police or medical attention. And then there's SA, which I'm not going to get into because that's very triggering and upset, but you can look into it, of course. I'm on criminalattorneycolumbus.com, and so many are not reported, but can you see how showing the Joker just drop Harley off in the middle of nowhere after a job because he got mad at her because he was in a bad mood, and she's just like, how am I supposed to get home? And then also, calling her stupid or a brat, and then like driving recklessly, putting her in danger, how that could be more effective at making people think like, damn, this guy's messed up. I almost think this is worse than the other things, because like that kind of repeated interpersonal violence and abuse is just so horrifying. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at people who are, they feel sicker about that because there are these elements behind closed doors. Like, we don't see it usually. Think about them like that individual living in their own personal hell and purgatory. They don't have freedom. They don't have rights. Like, of course, brutally murdering people is awful. But we know that's bad. So wouldn't you think, like, isn't there a point to saying like all of these nuanced and, you know, not popularly depicted forms of abuse are useful and beneficial to show, to get people thinking and to educate them, so that if they are in a situation like that and they think it's love, to show like that's not love. The Joker does that. It's not love. Yeah, again, I will stop yapping, but if you listen to the end, I appreciate you so much, and I would love to hear what you think. Honestly, I really want to talk to y'all about it. I will probably be more responsive in the Discord if you would like to join our Discord, because there are moderators. Please be well, take care of yourselves. Don't, if you have argued within this community, DC community, with people about, you know, what's good to show, or like, you know, Harley and Joker, and just particularly with IPV and DV, I just want you to feel emboldened. You are, we can change these ideas, okay? We can talk about them, we can put them out in the open, and I'm being brave and I'm going against my my typical content and gapping unscripted, and I would like to inspire you to do the same, and to make sure you know that we care about your safety, and there are people that believe you and love you. So yeah, shout out to Harley for being just such an interesting character. I also wish they had shown more of her individually without the Joker, because that's some of the best stuff. That is some of the best DC content, is if you just let her shine. Like in the recent Suicide Squad, James Gunn. But especially, I would just invite y'all to watch Batman the Animated Series, the Harley and Joker episodes, but especially Mad Love. That'll give you a great depiction. So it's so well done. R.I.P. Arlene, R.I.P. Kevin Conroy. I love you guys. Can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. Be well. I'll see you for more Injustice cutscenes reactions. Okay, bye.